It's being called a safe zone, a strip of territory on the border between Syria and Turkey that would act as a buffer zone between Kurdish militias to the south and Turkish forces to the north. It was initially discussed by Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan and U.S. President Donald Trump as a 20-mile no-goes area. And yesterday in Moscow, Erdogan appeared to also get approval from Russian President Vladimir Putin. Here's what Turkey's foreign minister said today.
Even now, we are confident and therefore openly saying that we could establish a safe zone on our own. But if the US, Russia and others would like to cooperate, we will not exclude them.
All right, joining us from Washington is Peter Juul, a senior policy analyst at the Center for American Progress, and in Istanbul, journalist Elgin Bas. Elgin, let me start with you there. Certainly, both Turkey and Russia are happy to see U.S. forces on their way out. They're trying to sort of work out the future map of Syria. If this safe zone does go ahead, who exactly is it really going to keep safe?
Well, it was a long-time plan for Turkey, actually, and Erdogan administration was considering this for many, many years. They were not stepping into that area because of the U.S. forces was there, and they were organizing SDF and the other Kurdish militias there. But we are now seeing there's some kind of compromising between U.S. and Turkey about this, and Turkey would be will be entering like all along the Syria border, which was controlled by the SDF, approximately 40 kilometers, and that would be like 300 kilometers length. That would be Turkish and Turkish-backed some Syrian forces. And Turkey, actually, I'm saying this as a compromising because Erdogan was really sick and tired of waiting to Turkish state actually was very sick and tired of having their neighbor SDF and YPG as having their neighbor, because according to the Turkish states, as many you know, they are considered to be a terrorist organizations and not very welcome.
And Peter, the Kurds have their concerns about this safe zone and say it needs international guarantees or even monitors to work. How justified are those Kurdish concerns, and how likely is it that they'll get this international participation?
Well, the Kurdish concerns are very well justified, given Turkey's own rhetoric and track record, and as your other guests mentioned, the desire to basically go in and fight the SDF and the YPG. I don't see international monitors as terribly likely, especially now that the United States is withdrawing from Syria. There is really no reason for any other country to stick its soldiers in harm's way, basically paint a target on their back from ISIS and a number of other militant or terrorist groups. So this just does not strike me as a very practicable scheme.
Peter, so we heard National Security Advisor John Bolton a while back, a few weeks ago, saying, well, there'll be no real deal with Turkey that does not include protection for the Kurds, for those U.S. allies. Do you think that that is actually going to hold going forward?
There may be a deal with guarantees on paper, but in Syria, I am not at all confident that anyone lives up to the deals that they make on paper, and especially not with the current government in Turkey and their well-known views about the Syrian Kurds. So I wouldn't put too much stock in those. I mean, if there were to be somehow an international guarantee force, that would be better than nothing, but that does not seem likely, and it's not exactly a winning proposition, I think, to trust anything that's written on paper when it comes to Syria.
And we had seen, really just a few weeks ago, a little before that, Turkey threatening an offensive into Syria to, they said, to crush the Kurdish militias there in Manbij. They seemed to back off in the face of U.S. pressure. We saw Syrian troops move into Manbij. If the safe zone doesn't come about, would the Turks move into Syria, even at the risk of clashing with Syrian government forces?
Well, that's a very high possible risk right at the moment, and the only thing that is keeping this risk away is the Trump's policy on Syria and the U.S. forces pulling back from there. But Manbij is also very significant for Erdogan, because Erdogan administration in Turkey does not consider that European Western side as any Kurdish pro-Kurdish sides except whatsoever. So they, first of all, Manbij is very significant, and they want this force to be moved from there, and they would like to go ahead for the buffer zone, and maybe later on, just after that, they would be heading towards ISIS territory, which is still, we do not know how, because Derizor is a bit more than far from 40 kilometers away from Turkey. So we do not know which part, how this deal worked with US and Turkey between these both countries. But as you mentioned, Manbij is a very important, play an important role. And we also hearing that Manbij was also talked, come as a topic yesterday's discussions between President Putin and President Erdogan.
Peter, if we're talking about the U.S. side of this, the troop withdrawal that obviously has a major impact on what we're seeing now and what it's going to look like going forward, what is your understanding of how quickly those troops are going to leave? Because there's certainly been some mixed messages from the White House since that announcement.
Yeah, mixed messages is putting it mildly. I think that the U.S. military has announced that they're already starting the withdrawal. President Trump, based on his Twitter feed, seems to think that this will be happening rather rapidly. Lindsey Graham was in the region and trying to sort of pump the brakes and slow down the withdrawal. It's just not clear with this administration what exactly will be happening on this issue. There are so many mixed messages that any course of action will be seen as a reasonable prediction, no matter what transpires. So it's hard to say. I mean, over the next several months, I imagine that would be a reasonable guess, but who can say with this administration?
All right, Peter Juul in Washington and Elgin Bas in Istanbul on the future of Syria being decided in many ways as we speak.